Hi guys, so today I'm going to be doing a quick review of the Speidel 30 litre fermenter that we've got here. I've used it on a couple of brews now, and I'll just share my experiences with it so far, what I think of the pros and cons of this particular model, and whether it's worth the money for what you're getting. Okay, so what have we got? It's a 30 litre plastic fermenter. Those of you that have been watching my videos in the past will know that I've used a kind of variety of stuff, from ultra budget fermenters like the plastic boxes that I've done videos on in the past, through to the stainless conical that I've got. So this is kind of at the top end in terms of plastic fermenters that you can buy. It's yeah, but essentially still just a very basic fermenter in terms of what it can do and what the features are. So essentially it's a plastic bucket really with a airlock and a tap on it. Doesn't have any of the advanced features you might find on other stuff, but it is, as far as plastic fermenters go, quite a good quality one in my opinion. So let's just talk about it in a little bit more detail. I got this one from Get a Brewed, and I paid about £38 for it, including the airlock and the tap. So more on that later, but basically you have to pay a little bit extra for the accessories. So normally you'll pay the price for the main fermenter itself, but then if you want the airlock and tap, you have to buy those separately. The material it's made of is HDPE, so it's very similar to the kind of pressure barrels that you will see, and the price seems like a lot for a plastic fermenter, which it is, but when you compare it to the cost for things like pressure barrels made of the same materials, it's in the right ballpark really in terms of the costing of it. So you'd be paying the best part of 30 quid for a decent quality pressure barrel, and this is a little bit more than that, with the extra bits that you need on it compared to the pressure barrels. So being HDPE, the plastic is very solid, so it's good quality, thick plastic. It's quite well molded as well, very durable, so I don't think you're ever really going to have any issues with this splitting or breaking unless you're really putting it through some sort of abusive treatment. Certainly, you know, the plastic is more high quality than what you would get on standard brew buckets, the majority of which are, I think, polypropylene or PP plastic. So yeah, quality wise the materials are good, molded well. Handles on it are really solid, so I don't think you've got any concerns about those breaking either, and they're not actually molded into the plastic itself, so if they were to break, it's not going to potentially split the fermenter or cause any issues like that. As I said, it's 30 litres, so you are looking at quite a lot of headroom in there. Some fermenters similar to this will be more like 25 litres, which doesn't really give you much room for the yeast to grow up into if you're doing, say, a 23 litre batch or more. As you can see, I've marked some volumes on here, so 23 litres is just below this band here and gives you a real good amount of space there for krausen and the yeast to grow into. Now, some beers are still probably going to be able to kind of get out of the fermenter after that, but if they do get up to here, then you've also got this kind of monster airlock which is part of it. So it does look ridiculously huge, but I guess it gives you extra capacity inside for yeast to escape into, so that if the krausen does rise all the way to the top, you're not going to necessarily have it blocking completely, and you're maybe going to get a little bit of time to set up a blow-off tube or something like that before it completely overwhelms the airlock and comes out the top. The tap on here is quite low on the body, so that would be one concern for me. It wasn't a problem on the first brew I did, which didn't have any dry hops or anything like that in. But if you've got a large quantity of trub or dry hops going in, there's a good chance that you're probably going to have some of that rising above the level of the tap. Now, I would probably, while I was dry hopping or letting the sediment settle out, tilt the fermenter back a little bit so that it left space for the tap to drain from, but that is something that would maybe be a concern. If you don't want to use the tap, it does come with a blanking cap like this, so you can swap that out for that and then rack out of the top as you would normally with a siphon tube. So that is one alternative option. If we just have a quick look at the tap and the lid on the top. So the tap is kind of a single moulded piece of plastic, and the outer cap just makes the seal with the body. So you've got a gasket on the inside here, so there's not really too much in the way of threads or anything like that which are in contact with the beer, and you know, places for potentially infection or germs to take hold in. So I like that. You can get right into the tap itself for cleaning. There's no kind of cylindrical body like you have on the taps for other plastic fermenters, which can be really hard to clean. So a big advantage of this fermenter, in my opinion, is the ease of cleaning for it, which is really good. Similar thing with the lid here. So you've got a nice fitted gasket all the way around here. Again, that's really well done because it's not going to deform out of shape like you would get with the gaskets on things like pressure barrels, which are not fitted so well. So that should last quite a while. You can buy replacements, but it seats really nicely into there and produces a really good seal onto the top of the fermenter. Inside, the top there has got really wide opening, so you can get right inside for cleaning. Obviously, being a plastic fermenter, you still don't want to really use anything too abrasive on it, but I have noticed when I've been using it that the moulding on the inside is very smooth, and it does help to get the yeast off the sides of it. It cleans up very easily. Even if you just put in some cleaning agent and shake it around a bit, that's going to get rid of most of the gunk before you even need to get in there with a sponge or do anything like that. So really easy to clean, and there's no real kind of nooks or crannies for stuff to hide in. So as I was saying, the threads and stuff on other taps or gaps in between the mouldings and so on can provide places for dirt and gunk to get hold. But really, once you've got all the taps and stuff off, there's no hiding places that you can't get to easily to clean it well. So that's really good. Okay, so in terms of things that I maybe think could be better with this, first of all, the volume markings that I've put on the sides here. This is a bit of a pet hate of mine for fermenters, where they either don't come with any volume markings at all, or they do and the volume markings are either woefully inaccurate, or they're given at like 5 litre intervals or something like that, so they're not actually that much use to you. For this amount of money, I would like a fermenter to have at least some indication of what volume of liquid is in it. Now, this doesn't have anything on it at all, so as you've seen, I've had to mark those completely from scratch. I know some people will say, well, you know, it's better to calibrate it yourself anyway, but like I said, I think, you know, really they should have it set into the mouldings on this so that they've got some accurate volume markings, especially when you're paying this sort of money for a plastic fermenter. I don't think it's too much to ask. It's the only bit of information that I really need from the fermenter when I've filled it up, is how much liquid I've actually transferred into it, so that I can work out you know, whether I'm getting the right volumes out and efficiencies and all that sort of stuff. So that's one gripe, but I can't really be too hard on Speidel for that, because it's very similar to the sort of stuff that a lot of other manufacturers do, and yeah, plastic fermenters particularly very often have really shit volume markings or nothing at all. But that's certainly something I would change on it if I was going to do any redesign or changes to it myself. What else? So having to pay extra for the taps and the airlock, I think, is a little bit cheeky. The overall price itself for it, I think, is reasonable, but it's just the fact that when you go on to buy one, that you get given this price for the main thing and you think, oh, that seems okay, and then you've got to pay extra for those. You know, that should really just come as a package as part of it. I think that's a little bit of a piss take, having to pay extra for those. Again, it's more just the annoyance of having to add them as extras to me, rather than just including them in a package price. Although on the Get a Brewed site, they did actually have the whole lot together as a single price, which worked out a bit cheaper, which was one of the reasons that I gave gave my order to them rather than some of the other companies that were selling these. It does also mean that the replacement parts for those are a little bit more expensive than what you would be looking at for, again, the standard kind of plastic fermenters. That said, in terms of the price range, like I said, it compares relatively well if you think about other stuff that's made of the same kind of materials. The cost is a lot for a plastic fermenter, but I think this will last a lot longer than a typical plastic bucket. Cleans up easily, so it should be easier to maintain. It's not going to break anytime soon unless I throw it under a bus. And yeah, there's not really any other major disadvantages to it. The only other one was, as I mentioned before, the tap level being a little bit low could cause you some problems with draining it, but you've always got the option to just siphon out or maybe tilt the fermenter back, like I said, so that the sediment settles away from the tap. So yeah, overall I'm pretty happy with it so far. Seals up nicely, easy to clean, good volume to it, good quality. Think it will last a long time, and hopefully I'll be making lots of nice beer with this over the coming years. So that's the Speidel 30 litre fermenter. Works for me. Hopefully if you get one, it will work well for you too. Cheers, guys.
I'm the dude, so that's what you call me, you know? That or his dudeness or Duder or, you know, El Duderino.